Hi, today's vlog is a Q&A. I watched Simply Stacey's vlog the other day, which was a Q&A, and it looked like so much fun, so I completely have ripped her idea off. I will link her original Q&A down below so you can go and watch it, and I urge you to do so. It's good fun. She has some really weird celebrity crushes. Anyway, so I decided to do my own Q&A, disability based, because this after all is a disability channel. So on my Insta stories I asked people to get in touch with their questions for me about disability. Some lovely people did. I've been asked some really good questions. So on to the first question. So I've got them all on my phone because I'd never remember them. The first question was from my very beautiful and wonderful friend Helen. Helen I have known for a really long time. I love her to pieces. She's a proper grown-up now with 2 babies that aren't really babies anymore, but she has 2 beautiful children, James and Elliot. She does have a disabled son who is a joy. He is the smiliest baby, child, toddler. I'm not very good with describing children. Anyway, he is the smiliest little boy I've ever seen in my life. His smile it just melts your heart, it really does. So her question was, any advice for a mama raising a disabled baby? But she's also put, oh wait, he's not a baby now, so it's not just me that refers to him as a baby. You can find Helen at Sparkly Fluff on Instagram. Not being a mum myself, not really liking children or spending any time with any children because children terrify me. I don't know how qualified I am to give advice on this. What I will say is I have a lot of experience of being a disabled child, and I think my advice would be to remember that children are so resilient. As children, we tend to just get on with it, and our limitations don't bother us because we don't really know that they're limitations. It's just maybe you can't run as fast, or you can't jump as high, or you can't walk as well. So I think it's important to remember that your child is really strong, and sometimes probably a lot stronger than you are, and they'll get through most things. You'll be surprised at the bravery a child can show. I know some families with some incredibly brave children, and I think parents can sometimes forget, because it's their child, it's, you know, their heart is breaking, and I think they can forget that actually their child is the strongest person they'll ever meet. So my advice for Helen, my lovely friend, is just keep doing what you're doing. You are a wonderful mother, and your boys, all of your boys, are so lucky to have you. And whatever James's limitations are, they're never going to bother him, because I know that you'll fight for him, and I know that you'll never let those limitations bother him. So my advice is just remember how brave they are, how brave they can be, how strong they are, and how resilient they can be. Yeah. Hopefully that was okay. If you are the parent of a disabled child and you've got some better advice for Helen, please drop a comment below and I'll make sure it gets to her. The next question is from the lovely Simply Stacey, or my best friend Stacey. Her first question, because she did a few for me because she's lovely, her first question is, if you could time travel, what advice would you give yourself as a child with your disability? Now this is really tough, because some days I would go back to my child and say don't grow up, don't get any bigger. Just stop now, because it's gonna get so much worse. On a good day, I would tell myself as a child that there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. Sometimes it's gonna feel like there are more bad days than good days, but you've got this far and you're doing okay. and at this moment in my life, in the future, I am the best me that I can be. So that is what I would tell myself. I think that at any given time, any moment you stop and think about it, at that moment in time, you are the best you that you can be. So thanks, Stacey, for that question. The next question is from Trudy. I used to work with Trudy. She is another wonderful mother that I know. She has 2 beautiful children. She is a wonderful, wonderful person, and she is bloody brilliant at her job, and I love her and I miss her every day that I don't work with her. Trudy asked me, do you think your disability defines you? I know it shouldn't. I know that my disability shouldn't define me, but it does. My disability is the very essence of me, and it has shaped my life. It's shaped all the decisions I've ever made, and I'm sure it will continue to shape the decisions that I make for the rest of my life. My disability does define me, and that's not a bad thing, I don't think. I think it's a good thing. I think I have, most days, grown up to be a really strong person. I don't always feel strong, but I think I've done really well to get this far without giving up. And goodness, to some days I feel like giving up, but I've gotten this far with my disability, and I will continue to go as far as I can. So yes, I think very much so my disability defines me, and as I already said, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think your disability, my disability, is a part of me, and if it didn't define me, I think I would be being someone else. I don't think I would be my true self if I didn't let it define me. I try not to let it stop me, but it definitely does define me. Thank you, Trudy, for that question. Next up is another question from the beautiful Simply's Daisy. He wants to know, how does your husband and your family deal with your disability to help? Really well. I mean, I can't fault any of them. I had a brilliant childhood. My mum has always fought my corner. My husband has always looked after me. He's very understanding. I think, if I'm being completely honest, my family, my friends and my husband, I don't let any of them in completely. I hide a lot of my pain. I hide a lot of my emotions. I put on a front and I live behind that front. And I very rarely let anything real bubble up to the surface. Now, I don't mean to sound like I'm being a completely fake person. This is who I am. But on the same principle, I don't want to burden anyone with what's really going on. So right now, I'm in a lot of pain. My hip really hurts. I've been sat in a chair in the hairdressers for a couple of hours, so my hip's gone quite stiff. So my hip hurts. I know that in a minute I'm going to have to get my own shoes off, and my hip is so bad at the moment that most nights Neil has to help me take my shoes and socks off. It's embarrassing and it is demoralising. I feel like my independence is being taken away. 90% of the time I am crying on the inside because my mental health is in such a state at the moment. I'm very sad, I'm very angry. But ask anyone that knows me and they probably don't know that. Because I won't have shared it with them. They won't have noticed. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, that they won't have noticed. I haven't let them notice. Based on advice from my counsellor, I am trying to be more real about my feelings, physically and mentally. So I'm sure you'll see me somewhere crying very soon. So what do they do to help? They do what they can and they do what I let them do. I won't let them do a lot though. And I am so grateful to my friends and my family and my husband. I'm so grateful that I'm loved by those people who make sure that I'm okay. And some of them probably know that I'm not really okay. My husband, for example, knows that I'm not okay, but he doesn't press me. He doesn't try to force it out of me. He just lets me be. And I know that he's there for me. So that's what they do. I think for any disabled person, it's really important to have a network. However big or small that network is, it's important to know that if you need it, if you want it, there are people there to help you. And I know that. I know that my family, my friends and my husband, if I wanted them, if I needed them, they'd be there in an instant. So thank you for that lovely question as well, Stacey. You star. The next question is from Rachel, or Bert's Bowl, over on Instagram. I'll link. Her question is, although you're with the NHS, how accommodating are they with your disability? Now, I work for the NHS, or we provide services on behalf of the NHS. So how are they accommodating my disability? I am on my third and a half different job within the NHS organisation. I've worked within the NHS here in Plymouth for 7 years now, as an administrator for various different teams. The team I'm with currently have been the best for accommodating my disability. They are very understanding. I have an incredibly understanding manager who is also incredibly patient, and she has really worked hard to make sure that I'm treated fairly. I've had to have a lot of sickness time off, planned and unplanned, which is a nightmare for an employer. Of course it is. I understand completely that I can be a nightmare. Just look at me. I'm a nightmare for an organisation. But yeah, the team I'm currently with have been so good to me. They're really very accommodating for my disability. It's the small things like them offering to get me lunch, or offering to nip to the photocopier for me, or offering to carry something. And it's the small things like that that I don't like to ask. But one of them in particular, Glynis especially, I love, because she always checks that I'm okay. And she always offers to get things for me. She offers to pick things up for me. She offers to carry things for me. And it's the small things like that that can really help in a workplace and make you feel less isolated and make you feel like you belong in that team. So I am really grateful to the people I work with and to my manager for ensuring that I get a fair deal where I work. Organisationally, there are things that they could do to help disabled people more, but I get that it's hard. I get that it can be tricky, but yeah, all in all, I am treated really well by my organisation. I'm treated really well by the NHS. I'm quite lucky. I have had horror stories, but I personally have been lucky, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank you for that question. The next question is from Binge Beat. She's over on Instagram. She asks, what's the hardest part of your day and why? Ooh, this can really vary. Sometimes mornings can be really hard for me, so getting out of bed. My pills mess with me quite a bit. I take a lot of pills, and they can make it really hard for me to get up in the mornings. They give me sort of sleep disturbances, so I have very bad nightmares, very bad dreams. I wake a lot in the night. I have to go to the toilet a lot in the night. So I don't sleep very well at all. So getting up in the morning can be really hard, and I've sort of stiffened up overnight, so that walk from the bedroom to the bathroom can be tricky. And if I get up in the middle of the night, I'm disorientated. Sometimes when I stand up or get up, I go a little bit dizzy. So climbing over 3 cats in the dark to the bathroom at night can be a little bit of a nightmare, so that's quite hard. The middle of the day can be quite hard for me because I've spent a morning holding everything in, keeping a check of my emotions, keeping myself controlled and not losing it in the workplace mentally. So lunch times can be quite tricky because it's exhausting. Being in pain all the time is really tiring. Having to think about when I'm going to go to the toilet, when I'm going to walk, if I'm going to be able to walk when I get up, is really exhausting. So come lunchtime, I'm often really very tired and really very drained. So that can be hard. Obviously evenings can be hard. You know, after you've walked around all day, you've been on your feet, my feet have swollen up, my hip has seized up, so I can't get my shoes and socks off. My husband has to help me. So there isn't really any one point of the day that is harder than another, I don't think. And I don't mean to sound dramatic. And if you know me, I'm not at all a dramatic person. I'm very subtle. Not to be dramatic, but my whole day is hard. Everything is hard. Everything is a struggle. Nothing feels very easy for me at the moment. So the whole day is hard. So I can't really say one part of the day is harder than another. I will link below my day in the life vlog just to give you a little bit of an idea of what I go through on a daily basis. So please give that a watch. Thank you for that question. The next question is another one from the lovely Stacey at Simply Stacey. What is the best tip for people with disabilities who are feeling overwhelmed? I think it depends why and where and when you're feeling overwhelmed. When I'm feeling overwhelmed for whatever reason, I try to remove myself from the situation. So for example, if I'm feeling overwhelmed at work, sometimes I have random panic attacks for no reason. Well, there is a reason, but I couldn't pinpoint that reason to you. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed like that, I try to remove myself from the situation. I'm quite lucky that where I work, there's there's quite a few spaces that I can just go to and sit quietly for sort of 5-10 minutes. I let someone know where I'm going, and if I need to, I can just disappear for a couple of minutes and just get myself back and try to calm down. So that's something, just try to remove yourself from the situation. If, for example, you are online and you're feeling overwhelmed, then again, remove yourself from that situation. Go offline for a bit, read a book, have a bath, do something else, do something completely different. Even if you have to go and scream into a pillow or cry or shout or dance around, just distract yourself, do something else if you're feeling overwhelmed, and that can just bring you out of it, and that can be quite helpful. I will also link below a link to my video where I made a distraction box. Distraction toys and distraction-y items can be really helpful if feeling overwhelmed. I carry like a scrunchy ball around with me in my bag. I've got one at work as well, so I can just play with it if I'm feeling overwhelmed, and it's a distraction from whatever it is that I'm finding overwhelming at the time. There are plenty of tips and techniques. There are lots of bloggers out there offering techniques and tricks for how to deal with anxiety and if you're feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes I get very overwhelmed after a hospital appointment, especially if it hasn't been very good news. My cat's knocking things off my dresser now. So not enough space for you there, Bee. She just lay on top of everything so she can lie in the sun. She never feels overwhelmed. She's very lucky. Yeah, so if I've had a sort of a tricky hospital appointment and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, I try to get out in the fresh air for a couple of minutes and try to breathe, try to focus on the here and the now, and just try to be calm, and it doesn't always work. And I'm sorry that I don't have a better tip for you. I would say if you can find someone to talk to, if you could phone a friend, phone a loved one, and just chat to them. Even if you don't want to tell them what's going on, just talking to someone about anything. You could talk to your mum about the latest thing that she's Googled, and it's a distraction, and just hearing that familiar voice can just help, can calm you down. So I'm sorry I don't have a better tip. This question is from Sarah, the beautiful rain monkey. She is a gem, I love her. Her question is, when you're in pain, what are some things that you find help ease it other than medication? Medication is what eases it. I take a lot of painkillers, and it's taken me a good number of years to find a painkiller that works. So for me, the only thing that generally touches my pain are painkillers. I have had some relief from a TENS machine. That's like basically you're electrocuting yourself. It's electrostimulus, or it's called something very fancy. So a TENS machine can be quite helpful, especially for things like headaches, period pain, neck ache. I have sometimes found them helpful for headaches. So TENS machine. If I'm in pain from perhaps being achy or stiff because maybe I've done a bit more than I should have, a bath can sometimes help. Just lying in the water for a little while can ease the pain. I sometimes find it really hard to get comfortable in a position. So sometimes I find myself in very odd positions because they're the only way I can get comfortable. But that's what works for me. Distraction can sometimes be a good way to ease pain. So if you take your mind off of it, if you do something else, watch something, play a game. I'm currently playing Forza, and I'm racing around the British countryside, wishing that there were people in the game that I could run over. And I find that quite distracting for pain, until I try to stand up. So yeah, there are a few things. I know lots of people swear by cold packs, heat pads. There are all sorts of different things that you can do other than use medication. If you get joint pain, things like Ibuleaf gel can be quite helpful. If you want to go sort of very non-medical, Tiger Balm can be really useful for joint pain. I also use Tiger Balm for headaches. I put it on my temples and on my pulse points, and that can, I've got literally no idea why it works, but that sometimes can be quite helpful for pain. Sometimes getting up, having a little walk around can ease my pain. I think it's different for different people, and I think it very much depends on what your pain is and where your pain is. I was once told by a medical professional that my pain was all perceived and that I wasn't really in pain. I just thought I was in pain. I was perceiving the pain, and therefore if I stopped perceiving my pain, I would no longer be in pain. Surprisingly, that didn't work because I don't perceive pain, I am in pain. She did later apologise to me, which was nice. So I guess maybe if you perceive pain, you could just simply stop perceiving pain and then you won't be in pain. I'm not a licensed medical professional, but I'm pretty sure that that won't work. So yeah, I suppose it depends what your pain is, where your pain is, how long you've been in that pain. I think if you're experiencing a lot of pain, don't try and hide it, don't try and mask it. Go and see a doctor, check that it isn't something serious that can be fixed really easily. I've been told things like acupuncture and acupressure and seeing a chiropractor can really help, and I think that is something I'd like to look into in the future for pain. I'd just be worried I'd end up in more pain, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, if you've got any tips for Sarah on how to deal with pain, in a non-medicated way, please get in touch below. So you'll be pleased to know I'm on the last question now, and this is from Tuesday Photographs, who is a beautiful woman. Her pictures on Instagram are amazing. Her lingerie photos, she is a stunner. And to quote the Circle, she is a sort. Oh, having a visit from Figaro. This is Figaro's tail. And I say hello, Figs. Oh, there he is. Anyway, her question is, how do you cope with comments that mean well but are offensive? So she means things like, oh, you're so brave. Those comments are really hard to deal with, and I take them really personally, and I don't take them in the spirit that they are intended. When people say things like, you're so brave, oh, you're such a fighter, how do you do it, things like that. And although they mean well, they mean really well, and they are just trying to say that they think you're doing really well, I get that, and it's really nice of them. But I, as a disabled person, I'm not here to be your inspiration. I'm not here to make you feel better about your life. And the amount of people that have said to me, oh, I couldn't do what you do, I couldn't live like that, I couldn't, you're so brave. Or I've had people say to me before, oh, I had a headache last night, and it was really bad, but then I thought about you and I thought how much pain you must be in, and I just thought, actually, I'm so glad that I don't have to deal with what Estelle deals with. And I think, really? Why would you say that to somebody? And I get that you're so well-meaning and you're saying that you hold them in, not awe, but you're inspired by them. And I don't want to inspire you. I don't want to inspire anybody. Paralympians are not there to inspire you. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, I don't know. But we aren't fighters, we aren't strong, we aren't brave. We're just living our lives like you're living your life. I think you're really brave and an inspiration if you can get a spider out of your house without screaming and threatening to set fire to things. If you don't have to wake your husband up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get a spider out of the bathroom, then props to you. I am inspired by you. When people tell me that I'm brave, I just think, no, I'm not. I'm living my life. I am doing what I have to do to get by, and you're brave for getting a flu jab. You're brave for getting up in the morning. Everybody's brave. Everybody is an inspiration. Everybody is inspiring every day. And we're not here for you to put on a pedestal and feel grateful that you aren't like us. We're not here to make you feel better about yourselves. And we're not here to make you feel better because you can sympathise or because you think we're inspirational or brave. And I know that sounds really harsh, and I know these people are just well-meaning. I know they are, and I know it doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from such a good place. I know that. But we could really do without it. So don't tell us that we're brave. Don't tell us that we're inspirational. Don't say, oh, I'm so glad that I don't have to go through what you have to go through, because this is our reality. This isn't bravery. It's not inspirational. It is just living. We are just living, and that's all we can do. So don't hold a candle to us. Mostly because I'm 90% dry shampoo and I'll catch fire, but you know. So thank you for that question. That was a really good one, and I got a little bit ranty towards the end there, so I'm sorry about that. Anyway, thank you for watching my Q&A. I hope my answers were okay. I hope you got a little bit of an insight into some things. I'd like to thank all the beautiful people that left me a question. I'm really grateful for it. So thank you as always for watching this probably rather long-winded by now video. As always, you can catch all of my recent posts at how many W's? www.estellosaurus.co.uk. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to see more of my ramblings and colourful jumpers. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.